Call an ambulance!
A man named Henry Chen had just returned to his homeland, Hong Kong, after serving for many years in the United States military. From that moment on, Henry decided to leave his life as a soldier behind and begin a new chapter, pursuing a career as a high school teacher at the very school he once attended, Tak Chi Secondary School. However, his plan didn't go as smoothly as he had hoped. Henry lacked the official teaching certificate required to authorize him to work as an educator. Because of this, the principal nearly rejected his application. Fortunately, Henry presented a letter of reference personally signed by a high-ranking official from the school. Thanks to that, he was finally granted the position he had long desired. Not only that, he was even assigned as a homeroom teacher for one of the most troublesome classes in the school. On his first day of teaching, Henry was shocked to see how chaotic the classroom was. None of the students seemed to have any intention of studying. It was so bad that even introducing himself became a struggle, as the students kept ignoring him. Eventually, he was forced to walk around the room, greeting them one by one, while making comments about whatever they were doing, just to get their attention.
Good morning! 由今日開始，我係大家嘅班主任。
When he finally managed to make the class pay attention, Henry began writing his name and phone number on the board. But instead of responding seriously, the students burst out laughing, mocking his terrible handwriting. One of them even dared to tell Henry to leave the class. That was when Henry decided to show them a glimpse of his real abilities.
Welcome to my class!
During the lunch break, in the sports equipment room, a student named Jack gathered 4 of his friends to smoke together. Not long after, a group from the basketball team, spoiled rich kids, walked in. They had always looked down on Jack and his friends simply because they were poor. But that day, Jack finally decided it was time to fight back against the humiliation they had endured for so long. However, Jack didn't realize that his naughty action had been seen by an English teacher named Miss Liang. She punished him by asking him to copy one sentence 20 times on separate sheets of paper. His 4 friends also got the same punishment, but instead of doing it, they decided to play a prank on Miss Liang. The next day, the school received a visit from the education department. They came to check the condition of the school. For years, the school had been known as one of the worst in Hong Kong every year. Fewer students wanted to study there, and none of the students had ever passed the university entrance exam. Because of that, the education department was thinking about closing the school permanently. Meanwhile, Mr. Henry was walking to his class. Inside, the students had already prepared a trap to surprise him, but Henry quickly avoided it. After that, he went straight to Jack and forced him to hand over the pack of cigarettes that Jack always carried. Henry then asked one of Jack's friends named Gordon a question. Mention 3 ingredients contained in cigarettes. Gordon answered correctly, and Henry immediately allowed him to go home. Suddenly, the whole class became noisy. Everyone demanded to be allowed to go home too. Henry then asked for their attention and placed several cigarettes one by one on the students' desks. His purpose was to explain the dangers of smoking for health, but it seemed that if he explained it directly, the students would not take him seriously. So Mr. Henry tried to direct the conversation to the students who smoked, asking how tar builds up in the lungs. With his fun and relaxed way of explaining, the students became interested and started to listen seriously. After finishing, Mr. Henry asked them to return the cigarettes he had placed earlier. During the lunch break in the school cafeteria, it was the basketball kids' turn to take revenge on Jack and his group. A fight could not be avoided, but unfortunately, the fight ended with Jack and his 4 friends being expelled from school. Of course, Jack felt the principal's decision was unfair. Why were only the 5 of them expelled, while the basketball team, who always insulted their poor condition, did not get any punishment at all? After Henry managed to convince the principal, Jack and his friends were given one last chance to behave well at school. However, Jack, who was already disappointed, chose not to take that chance. Henry then tried to find out about the background of his 5 students. Starting with Gordon, he was the son of a mixed African student who always received racial discrimination. He had a dream of becoming a musician. Next was a tomboy girl named Gladys. Since birth, she had disappointed her father because he really wanted a son. Even though Gladys tried to get her father's attention by changing her appearance to look like a boy, her father still did not care about her, especially after Gladys had a younger brother who was more loved by her father. Next were the twin brothers named Bruce and Chris. When they were little, their mother ran away with another man who was richer than their father. Since then, their father became an alcoholic. From a young age, Bruce had to work hard to earn money for the family, while Chris became obsessed with video games as a way to escape from reality. Then what about Jack? Unfortunately, Henry couldn't find any information about Jack's family background. Actually, Jack worked as a waiter in a restaurant at night. One night, a customer named Don Ching came to the restaurant. He was a businessman and also the owner of a mixed martial arts arena in Hong Kong. That night, Don Ching and his business partners were talking about Tak Chi School, which was going to be closed by the education department. Don Ching planned to take advantage of this situation for his own business. When no one was paying attention, Jack secretly took Don Ching's golden lighter, but he was caught by Don Ching's men and got beaten badly. Before they found his student ID card, Don Ching stopped them and gave Jack some money. He then offered Jack an interesting job. In another place, Henry visited Gordon's house. At that time, Gordon was running away from some thugs because he had stolen a concert ticket that actually belonged to his own father. Henry tried to solve the problem, and afterward, he took Gordon to the side of a bridge to motivate him about his dream and to teach him how to have the mindset of a musician on stage. Meanwhile, late at night at Bruce and Chris's house, their father came home late as usual. He opened the fridge and saw that there was no more alcohol left, so he told one of his sons to go out and buy some beer, but they refused. Their father got angry and threatened to kick them out of the house. The next day, Henry came to see the twins' father. He talked to him about the dangers of alcohol and advised him to stop drinking. Henry said that maybe if he did, he could rebuild a good relationship with his 2 sons. Meanwhile, at Gladys's house, her father bought her some makeup and told her to start dressing and acting like a proper girl. But Gladys, who was already angry and frustrated, secretly took her father's car and drove away. Not long after, Henry caught up with her and stopped her. He gave her advice and told her not to drive because she didn't have a license yet. Henry then took her to a go-kart track, where, without her knowing, he had also invited her father. The 2 of them ended up racing against each other. Unfortunately, Gladys's car crashed. Luckily, she managed to escape safely, but her father felt guilty and cried, thinking he had lost his daughter. From that moment, Gladys realized something, that she was actually very precious to her father. The next day, Henry took all his students, including Bruce and Chris, to a study program at a rehabilitation center. There, they were greeted by a former alcoholic who was now in recovery. It turned out that the man was Bruce and Chris's father. During the session, one of the students asked him how he became addicted to alcohol. He told them that it all started when the woman he loved left him. From that moment, he fell into his lowest point in life, became an alcoholic, and forgot that he still had responsibilities as a father. He admitted that he regretted everything and apologized to his 2 sons. In another place, Jack finally accepted a job offer from Don Ching. His first task was to put sleeping pills into the drink of one of the fighters. Of course, that fighter was not from Don Ching's own training arena. At first, Jack hesitated, but because he was promised a lot of money, he decided to accept the job. The next day, Mr. Henry visited a house where Jack lived only with his grandmother. Jack's parents had passed away in an accident when he was still a child. Although the grandmother didn't know what her grandson was doing outside, for her, Jack was always a good boy. Yesterday, Jack told his grandmother that he had started a part-time job with someone at a boxing gym. Hearing that made Henry feel uneasy, especially when he found sleeping pills near an MMA match poster. That night, Jack carried out his task, but unfortunately, he was caught by a guard. He was beaten up and locked inside a locker. A few moments later, Henry came looking for him. He asked the fighters if they had seen a high school boy around, but with unfriendly looks, they told Henry to leave. Before leaving the place, Jack shouted for help from inside the locker, and Henry immediately started to fight. Even the best fighter in the arena, who was supposed to compete soon, was defeated by Henry.
Call an ambulance!
After that, Jack tried to tell the police the truth about who Don Ching really was. But Don Ching kept denying everything and managed to escape from custody. After receiving treatment for his injuries, Henry took Jack home. On the way, Jack saw his grandmother working very hard. At that moment, he realized he wanted to go back to school and study seriously so he could help reduce his grandmother's burden. Meanwhile, after what happened that night, the news about the fight involving the Takchi High School teacher went viral. Now, all the students of Takchi High School respected Henry deeply and looked up to him as their role model. In a flashback, it was shown that when Henry was still a student at Takchi, he was even more troublesome than his current students. He was one of the most difficult students to control, so bad that he was transferred to a school in America. A few years later, Henry decided to join the army. At first, he thought war could bring peace, but he was wrong. He then tried to find the true meaning of peace by traveling around the world. One day, Henry watched an eagle and remembered how an eagle lives. No matter how far it flies, it always returns to its nest to raise the next generation. From that thought, Henry decided to return to Hong Kong. He met his former principal, who was the one that gave him a recommendation to teach at Takchi School. Since Mr. Henry became the most admired teacher at school, the students became more motivated to study. Everyone was excited to prepare for the upcoming university entrance exam, but it was different for Chris. He found it hard to focus on studying because he kept playing video games. It was no surprise that he got the lowest score among all the students in the pre-exam. Mr. Henry tried to get closer to him and help him study, but Chris was already depressed. He felt like he was the dumbest student in the class. Out of desperation, he attempted to take his own life. Fortunately, his life was saved. However, the media exaggerated the story, and soon many parents started protesting against Takchi School. They wanted their children to transfer to other schools. As Chris's homeroom teacher, Henry became the one most blamed by the education department. They questioned his teaching methods and said his lessons didn't follow the curriculum. In the end, the education department decided to revoke his teaching license. In other words, Henry was fired. Since that day, the third-year students of Takchi High School agreed to study twice as hard as before. They did this to prove to the education department that they had made a mistake by firing a good teacher. They also hoped that if the students' grades improved that year, the school might not be closed after all. This news reached Don Ching. He became worried that if Takchi School stayed open, his business plans would fail. On the day of the exam, before the test started, the students received a message saying that Mr. Henry wanted to meet them. They all gathered, but it turned out to be a trap made by Don Ching to stop them from taking the exam. However, to everyone's surprise, Mr. Henry actually came to the school and became their savior.
學校唔准食煙啊！Everybody okay？ 小心啊！
During the one-on-one fight with Don Ching, it was revealed that Don Ching was actually Henry's former classmate, the same person whose hand Henry had once broken during a fight. That incident had buried Don Ching's dream of becoming a pianist. In truth, Henry had always felt guilty about what happened, and even until now, he still carried that regret. His only request to Don Ching was simple, an apology. As punishment for his guilt, without hesitation, Henry stabbed his own leg and sincerely apologized to Don Ching. Meanwhile, all the students of Tokchi High School finally managed to take their exams on time. Thanks to their effort and hard work, every student passed the test. This great achievement made the education department decide not to close Tokchi School after all. They even invited Henry to return as a teacher. On the other hand, Chris's condition slowly improved. He promised his father and his twin brother that he would study harder to take the exam next year. As for Don Ching, he decided to return to his old passion, playing the piano. Even though he needed a lot of practice to play as well as he used to, he finally found peace in his music again. And so, the story of this film comes to an end.